Happy Monday, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Hustle Haven. We are your hosts. I am Taisha Renee.
And I'm River the Realtor.
And y'all, we are back with another phenomenal guest tuning in with us today. If you're looking at the video, then you can already see him. But if you're on audio, let me give you a little bit of background on who he is. So whether you're an Atlanta native or you're an Atlanta transplant,
Like us.
like me, like us, I'm sure you have heard of Butter ATL. It's one of the more popular Instagram pages that showcase that highlights the people and places and things that just make Atlanta great. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, he's also the chief content officer for Majority. Now, if you're not familiar with marketing and advertising, it is a popular advertising firm. They were actually named the 2023 Breakthrough Agency of the Year, and it is co-founded by Shaquille O'Neal. He's been named to Atlanta Magazine's 500 most powerful leaders of 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023.
Period. Okay? I'm sure 2024 is coming.
2024 is coming, y'all. So help us welcome Mr. Brandon Butler.
Thank you. That was great. You know what? You killed it. I'm going to get you read all my intro.
Look, I wish I was Brandon Butler right now.
Call me. Is that where Butter ATL comes from? Your last name, Butler?
No. So I'm going to get that out the way first.
Let's
Everybody asks me
all
the time, did I name Butter after myself because my last name is Butler. It is purely a coincidence.
Okay. Let's talk about how did we get Butter ATL?
Yeah, when I started Butter, so I know we're talking about side hustles and stuff like that. I've worked in the agency space for the last probably 10 plus years. The first half of my career was in tech.
Okay.
I was a software engineer and a certified hacker for a long time.
Look, you gotta add certified on there because it's 2024. You can't just say hacker. You gotta say certified.
I used to break into banks for a living.
Ethical. Yes.
Make sure y'all money and everything was safe and secure.
And we love that.
But then I started working in an agency for a while. I was working at an agency out here. And we were just talking about different ways to kind of help make the agency kind of relevant and show up. And we had this whole idea about let's build our own media company. And so we ended up building this idea. We were playing around with different names. I don't even remember what the other names were in the beginning, but I don't know. We just said Butter and it just kind of stuck. And I was like, you know what? Butter, it's Southern, it's simple, it makes everything better.
Yeah, okay, that's true. That's
when you churn the butter, the cream rises to the top. And so, we just kind of leaned into that and it became this whole kind of movement, what I'm saying?
Yeah. I love it. You guys see he mentioned side hustle. So today's episode is going to be about basically building your side hustle while also working your 9 to 5. Because as we mentioned before, we know social media. Social media is always 9 to 5 or die, entrepreneur or die. You can't do both. You can't succeed at both when in reality you can. There are many people, many examples of people who are doing it, and Brandon is one.
Yeah. And I think I want to add to that just by saying, even though it's a side hustle, the work is still being done. So y'all hear side hustle and think people half stepping.
Exactly.
But if Butter ATL is his side hustle, come on, y'all.
Okay.
Do better.
I always say it's just you got multiple full-time jobs.
That's
okay. And in today's society, you need multiple streams of income. You cannot live off of just one thing, unfortunately.
If COVID taught us nothing, it taught us if you have one stream of income, you have none.
Okay.
That's true. That's very true. Very true.
So let's get into it. So let's start off by telling us about your journey of starting your side hustle while doing your full-time. I know you mentioned that you were in tech. You kind of transitioned to the agency world. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about your journey of doing full-time and starting up this side hustle because I know that you have other businesses as well. Let's touch on it all. Let's get it all.
Yeah, I always tell my friends I think having a full-time job and a side hustle is kind of a life hack because as an entrepreneur, there's so much pressure on you to build something, figure out how to make it work. I think there are a lot of people that are very stressed out because they're working on things that aren't really paying the bills. And, the ability to kind of have this thing that's steady while you're building something else up, I think is something that people kind of overlook because we're in this weird space right now where you got to pick one or the other.
Yeah.
And, with the internet and all this stuff going on, you don't have to do that. So for me, as I kind of look back over my career, I've always kind of done both.
Okay.
I used to work at another company out here in Atlanta. And I remember at that time I had opened up a chain of web design stores called the Website Shop. So I literally put brick and mortar web design agencies basically inside of malls. I had 3 locations because of the foot traffic. And web design is a very referral based business. You know what I'm saying? But I remember in those days, I was literally working, 40 hours a week during the day. I had people run the store for me, and then at night I would leave work and I would come to the store and kind of work that.
Mhm.
So I've always kind of had this whole thing where I kind of do both. You know what I'm
You
saying?
a hustler.
You know,
That's what it
Yeah.
sounds
and
like.
then fast forward even to Butter, it was kind of the same thing for me. What was that really interesting with Butter was when I was at my old agency. Um, this I came there as a SVP. I was on the leadership team. I was running
Mhm.
all the technology stuff, and then we had the idea to kind of build Butter. And what was crazy was, that kinda became my full-time responsibility,
Mm.
and to the point to where when I actually built it up so large, when I ended up leaving the agency, I negotiated a deal with them to basically take full ownership of it.
Oh, wow,
So I think
okay.
Good.
that's also just something that
Hear
people gotta
you.
understand is, right, like, there's a way you can be creative with this stuff, right? Business
Yeah.
is all about creativity, and so, the fact that I was able to kinda build something, kind of in this agency, kind of incubate it, get it all figured out, and then when it was time for me to leave, I was able to actually negotiate with them, "Okay, this I wanna take this with me," was a
Yeah,
really
this is
big
my
thing.
child. I
Yeah.
did
Yeah. No, I
it.
love that you kinda just talked about what that looks like with having both, and I think as we kinda transition into being full-time entrepreneurs or being 9 to 5, you have to have something that is yours.
Yeah.
I feel
Mhm.
like no matter, where you are in a 9 to 5 space or working for somebody else, you are literally working for somebody else's vision, somebody else's dream. So even if
Mhm.
it's, your side hustle and it's something you're just passionate about, you love, having something to call your own that you can kinda navigate the waters, navigate the space, I feel like that's just super important at all
Mhm.
times. So,
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is. I
yeah.
mean, but I say it is, but I also think if you're that kind of person.
Yeah, 'cause
Okay.
not
Um,
everybody wants it.
everybody,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of responsibility and obligation to, like, not only doing your own thing, but building something like at the agency, and we can talk about that too. But right now, I think we have about like 40 something employees.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I mean, we just had somebody had their first baby, right?
Mhm.
And so what I think about is like, wow, we are responsible for this person's livelihood. We got to
Taking care
make
of their
we got to make sure they can take
families.
care of their family. Got to make sure they have
Yeah.
insurance. Like I'm dealing with maternity and paternity policies and all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
right? So I think if you're ready to step into it and you really believe that you can do it, go for it. But I also think there are a lot of people out there that are really good number twos, number threes in a company that are trying to be number ones and they're
Mhm.
just
Okay.
stressed out. So
Mhm.
I think you gotta just be honest with yourself, you know what I'm saying,
And
about
what
what
you
you wanna
Look,
really
do.
James
want.
Harden was 6 man, he did his thing,
He did
okay?
his thing, you know what I'm saying?
Everybody don't gotta be number 1, number 2. We need
Yeah,
all of those
Okay.
pieces to make
yeah.
it
We
work. So I
need a
think that's
team.
very
You need a team
relevant
to help you get there. You
for
can't do it
sure.
all by yourself for sure. I want to touch a little bit on your time management. And I know
Mhm.
that like it seems like a lot of the businesses that you started on the side kind of are similar to what you do in your 9 to 5 in some type of way, you know? So as far as like managing your time and feeling like, because I feel like when people are working both, they kind of feel like maybe I'm giving too much time to 9 to
Yeah.
5 and I'm not giving enough to my entrepreneurship. That's why it's not thriving. That's why it's not taking off. Whatever it may be, how do you balance that time and know that like you're giving sufficient amount of time to both ventures so that you can see it like succeed, I guess, in both roles.
Yeah, I mean, look, you gotta do what you gotta do to take care of the bills,
Okay.
first and foremost. So if
Okay,
you got a
very.
full-time gig, if you got a full-time job, focus on that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when you're
Mm-hmm.
working, if you have flexibility, especially now, a lot of people work from home,
Right.
a lot of people are
Love that.
remote, you can kinda do both. For me, though, it's been a couple of things. I always say, one, you gotta kinda hunt like a lion, right? Like, if you ever watched how a lion hunts, they sit there and they wait, and they wait, then they go.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm.
think for
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, we're just go, go, go all the time. But what you realize is like, your time is your energy. And so for me, I try to deploy that very strategically, very
Mm-hmm.
intentionally, not just on every other kind of thing, right? So one, it's the hardest part about running something and it working is you managing your time and just managing, like learning how to say no.
Yeah,
Mm.
In
that's
in the
important.
beginning with Butter, I said yes to everything because I was trying to build something. I was trying to build
Yeah.
relationships. I was trying to build credibility.
Any exposure felt like good
Any
exposure.
exposure
Man.
felt like good
Yeah.
exposure. Now I'm in a space where I have to just be a little bit more, judicious with how I do stuff.
Yep.
Not because I don't want to do it, because I simply can't be everywhere and I can't, be my best if I'm kind of everywhere at once. So,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
from that standpoint, one, you just got to kind of pick your shots. You can't, I always say you can't, fish with a shotgun. I know I'm country. That's like a country kind of thing,
Well,
You
I feel
country.
like I
but
feel
you
it.
can't you
I
can't
feel
fish
it.
with a shotgun. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to like be very intentional. The other thing is, you just got to be honest with yourself about, what your skill set is and what you're good at. For
Mhm.
me, I'm actually pretty decent at time management. But I also realized that I needed an assistant and I need to put kind
Mhm.
of like, barriers around me because I had kind of become a little bit too accessible
Mhm.
and I was feeling obligated to say yes to everything. Like I
That's
actually
me. Ooh.
Yeah, I actually told somebody no last week. They offered me a role on a board for a company, and I just was like, "Look, I would love to be on the board member of this company, but honestly, I just have so much stuff
My
going
plate is
on. I
full.
have so
Yeah.
many commitments that I really want to make sure I give my best to. That
Mhm.
respectfully, I'm gonna have to decline this. I'm still around to be helpful, but I
Mhm.
just can't keep on adding things to the plate because people want me to be on things. So I think, yeah, the biggest thing about time management is figuring out what works for you. My calendar is everything.
Man.
If it's not on my calendar, I'm not going to be there. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? I think 4 different calendars that I manage, kind of all in one place. But you just
Mhm.
have to figure out, what process, what system works for you. And again, you can't be afraid to say no because you can't do everything for
For
everybody. If not, you're gonna
everybody.
burn yourself out.
You know
Yes, we
what?
were
I can't wait to cut this real because you just said like 6 different things. I'm over here like, no, and things that I feel like are very, very crucial. One thing that I do love about this, the fact that like you're in marketing, I know that's Taisha's background as well. My background is like HR, finance, whatever. But everything that you just said, I think is cross sectional to everything. I don't care what your business is, what your nine to
Exactly.
five is. If you can't do it, you literally just can't do it. And I think we struggle with that. Like we talk about it in real estate all the time. We would get people like, oh, I need a realtor, I need this, I need that. People who we really couldn't service, but it's like we
Right.
will do anything to figure it out because you just don't want to say no.
You don't
You
want to
want to
say
build
no. Yeah.
something.
Mhm.
And I think
Mhm.
no matter again what industry you're in, that's super important. Like it's okay to build something and build something that's gonna be something you can stand on, but
Mhm.
everything is just not for you. And that is literally okay. Like you can say no and still be successful.
The,
Yeah.
the,
Go ahead.
the thing I tell my team continuously is do only the things you can do.
Right.
I say that all the time. Do only the things you can do. Like you can do a lot of stuff, but like
Mhm.
if you focus on the things that only you can do, like you will be so much more efficient and we will find somebody else to do the other things that you can't do or you don't want to
Mhm.
do. So I think that's
Mhm.
something that everybody should kind of strive for, right? It's like really figuring out what their superpower is and trying to live in and stay in that lane as much as absolutely possible is going to give you a crazy advantage over other people.
I needed that because I'm
Yeah.
delusional.
Okay.
I think
And I
everything my superpower. I don't know what's
Yeah, because
wrong
I
with
feel
me.
like that sometimes can be easier said than done. You know what I'm saying? Especially like imagine being a full-time entrepreneur and like this is your means of your income of supporting your family. Like maybe sometimes they probably need to say no, but maybe the bills don't let them say no.
No, I
The
understand that.
bills are like you need to get out that door and you need to
Yeah,
figure it out.
figure it
And I
out.
think that's kind of like the kind of be like a downfall for a business owner, like in those like really, really tough times and those really challenges, which kind of leads me to my next question as far as like, what are some initial challenges that you probably faced in the beginning of your career when you started kind of balancing both? What was those challenges that made you, did you have a moment where you're like, wait, do I want to do both of these things? Or like, what did that look like for you?
I mean, if you're an entrepreneur that hasn't had a moment and saying, "Do I really want to do
Every
this?" or
day.
"What the hell is going on?" almost
Uh,
every other day, you're
I'm gonna
not,
wait here. I said, Taisha, is this really my calling? Like, I don't know.
you're not playing it. But yeah, I mean, for me, the biggest thing has always been is just not being scared and afraid to ask for help. I remember I was running one of my old companies, and I went to the bank one time trying to get a bank loan. And they were like, "Yeah, let me see your P&L." And I said, "What the hell is a P&L?" I had no idea what that was. And so I ended up going and buying like some accounting software,
Mhm.
QuickBooks. I went and bought
Ugh,
QuickBooks, and I
yeah.
was I was trying to figure it out, and I couldn't figure it out. So like literally, there was this accounting office that I would drive past on my way home every day. And one day I said, "You know what? I just really pulled over. I went there and knocked on the door, and they came to the door. I said, 'Yo, can somebody teach me how to use QuickBooks? I will pay you $100 right now if you just show me.'" And the guy looked at me. He was like, "Are you serious?" I said, "Bro, I will pay you $100 because I do not know what this is. They asked me for a P&L. I don't know what a P&L is." And this guy literally sat down with me, took me back in the office. He sat down with me, helped me set it all up. And to this day, he's one of my kind of accountant friends and a good resource, right? But I think as an
Mm.
entrepreneur, that's what it is. It's about figuring out creative solutions. And just understanding what you don't know. But yeah, I mean, other challenges, it's things like building a team.
Mhm.
One of my big rules when it kind of comes to building a team is that you can't work for me until you work for me.
Okay.
So
Okay, you
every
Okay,
dropping so
wait.
wait. I
You
should have
can't
brought a
work for me
pen
until
because you're
you work
really
for
dropping some things. Like I'm not fishing with a shotgun. You can't work for me. Keep going,
yeah,
please.
yeah, I tell people all the time, you can't work for me until you work for me. So everybody sounds good in the interview, right?
Right,
Like everybody
right.
sounds like they know what they're doing. They sound like they're all on top of it. They're going to be there, but you really got to see the work product. And what I've learned is just there's no substitute for building an A plus team. Like there
Mm.
is no, like an A+ team, even with a mediocre idea, will get you significantly further than a
Oh, I love
mediocre
that.
team with an A+ idea.
Yeah.
I love that.
And so that's something that I've had to learn, over and over again. But yeah, I say you can't work for me until you work for me. So with a lot of people, the people that I usually hire that work for me, they've either done a project for me,
Mhm.
they've done multiple projects. We've worked together. I know how they are when
Mhm.
shit gets tough. When everybody's stressed out, I see how they kind
Mhm.
of handle stuff, and so it's no
Mhm.
surprise. And so when it's time to actually, all right, come on full time, like I know what to expect from this person.
Mhm.
Everybody can show up really good in the interview, you know what I'm saying? But like, I think that's a hack that I've learned over the years. And again, I'll pay people. I'm looking at some people right now for a role, and I gave them all a work trial to do last week, and I said, look, I'll pay you to do this.
Mhm.
Here are the rules. Like the rules are, don't spend more than 4 hours on this. This is what I need back. Here's how much I'm gonna pay you. But like, what I want to see is how are they going to deliver that product back to me?
Mhm.
Is
Mhm.
it going to be organized? Is it
On
going to be is it going to be
time.
on time? Is it going to be
Mhm.
like in an
Detail. I
email that
know.
I can figure out, or is it just going to be like thrown and slapped together? Are they going to use AI to
Yeah.
generate all the answers, right?
Okay.
Like, so it's all those things. And so like even seeing that for me, I'd rather make that small investment in paying them to do that work trial up front and figuring out, okay, will this work
Yeah.
before they actually come on board? Because a lot of people don't understand, like, it's more expensive to lose somebody than it is to hire somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's more expensive when you have somebody on your team, it's not working out, y'all have to part ways. Now you got to deal with that. You got to, find a backfill for them. So it's really important to get really good people on the team from the beginning. And I think as entrepreneurs, that's something that people kind of overlook because in the beginning, a lot
Mhm.
of times you're dealing with whoever will help you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
You're
just had
dealing.
an episode
I was
about
just
that
about to say
too.
this really is tapping back into the episode we had about teams and just being intentional about who you
Yeah.
hire.
Mhm.
Because I think, again, you're juggling 100 different things. And I feel like I'm only juggling two. But the only way I'm able to do it is with the support staff that I have in place. Like,
Mhm.
to me, you're only as good as the people that are helping you succeed or to get to the next phase. So being intentional about the hire, I like that. I think that's a nugget. Like, if you are looking to expand your team, do like a trial period. Like, see
Yeah.
what they're going to look like when it's hard. Because like you said, everybody pulls up to the interview like, and I matriculated through the institution of, and that's me. Like, I'll be telling everybody, well, I matriculated through all of these things, but when really things hit the fan, like, what is your work ethic gonna look like? Like you said, when everybody's stressed, everybody's
Yeah.
tired, and we got deadlines to meet. I
Yeah.
think that's a bar.
Yeah,
I love it
it's
here.
those little things like that. I think that again, like this entrepreneurship stuff is hard enough because you're dealing with like everything.
Literally.
And so the last thing you want to deal with is, I remember there was a company that I used to have, and I just didn't have a strong team.
Mhm.
And if I'm being really honest, like it had gotten to a point to where I would have anxiety attacks every time my phone would ring. Think about how many times your phone goes off during the course of a day.
Yeah.
Because I had gotten to this place to where I assumed anything I got was going to be bad news.
Mm.
So even when like every time my phone would ring, I'm like, oh God, what is
What do
this?
they do
Yeah,
now?
What is
look,
this?
that's
Yeah.
us doing due
Yeah.
diligence.
And after living in that place, I was like, I never want to go back to that again. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? But
Mhm.
again, that was because I just didn't do the work I needed to do to put a team in place that could really like run and manage that stuff. And so I'm telling
Mhm.
you, man, like building an A+ team, it's hard.
Mhm.
It's really difficult. But when you find those people that are A+, that are amazing at what they do, keep them, make them happy, keep them with you,
Help them
reward
grow.
reward loyalty. You know what I'm saying? Because you really need those people to help you accomplish your goals, so you can also help them accomplish their goals too.
Love
Agree. And
that.
that's what I'm gonna do because in the last episode, I was like, yeah, I'm scared to hire people because I'm so strict and I'm so stickler about certain things. But I love the idea of like bringing them on first, do some things for me, and then let's see how it works
Let's
out.
see that. I like
That'll
that
make
too.
me feel better. That'll make me feel better.
Yeah,
Look, I need to implement that because I've been doing a lot of
it's,
working. I just be
it's,
like,
it's even little tricks, right? I remember like when I would put out like a job posting. I would say stuff like I would have people fill out the job posting, and then I would say, when you respond back, use this, put this keyword or put this word in your response back,
Mhm.
right? So like
okay.
put, I don't know, Volvo. I can't think of another. Put Volvo when you email me back because I was like, can you just even follow that simple direction?
Yeah, and are you actually reading? Are you thorough enough to have seen that I put that in there anyway?
Yeah,
Right.
well, right. Or I can do that. I can also search for it, right? So I
Right.
could also
Mhm.
search for it to find in my email. But yeah, when I get people, or I would tell people like, when you respond back to this, send me, put the word Volvo in the email, attach your resume, and attach your LinkedIn. And you'll get so many people that'll email you back and be like, well, I don't want to put my LinkedIn in. It's like you already not following directions.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you
Red
already
flag.
You
showing
already
me
don't
you can't even
listen.
respond back to this email with following directions. So I already know that you're not gonna
This
follow
not a good
directions.
fit.
This is not
Okay.
gonna be a good
I
fit.
Right.
like that. I'm taking a
Yeah.
page out of that book.
Yeah. I am so weak. So let's go on to the next question. So I feel like one thing when I work a 9 to 5, one thing that kind of motivated me in my entrepreneurship were the things that I learned in my 9 to 5 that I
Yeah.
can implement into being a business owner, being a team leader, being these type of things. Like, what type of skills do you think you've learned, especially being C-suite executive at these different companies? What type of skills have you developed from that full time that you implement into your businesses?
I mean, the biggest thing at the C-suite level is not focusing on what your team should be working on, but making sure your team isn't working on things they should not be working on. Right. So
Okay.
it's always about having that clarity around like because you see everything.
Yeah.
They might only see a certain piece of it. You kind of see everything. But I think especially if I'm just keeping it a buck, like in a city like Atlanta, Atlanta's a very entrepreneurial city.
Mm-hmm.
But for
Mhm.
some reason, people think that working in corporate is a waste of time.
And I don't know
And
why.
and I
I
don't
don't
know
I
why.
either.
don't know why.
Because here's the thing, right? Like you're learning how to do business on somebody else's dollar.
The fact.
That's
And
a that's a good way to
That's
put it. On
another
someone else's
bar.
dollar.
you
Like,
really you're
I
learning
got
how to
another
do
business
business.
for you.
Yeah, what's up?
I got another business you should do. You should just do like training and coaching. Just like that it.
Literally.
That's it.
I'm telling you, because I see so many people that don't know how to run a meeting, that don't know how to, have a conversation, that don't know how to set KPIs. And I get it, right? Like, but I think there's this weird space where everybody's so busy to get into the hustle part, into the
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship part. They are driving people crazy around them because they simply do not know how to run something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've always felt like, working in corporate and getting to the levels I got to has kind of been a hack and showing me. And it's funny because like for a long time, people used to throw that in my face, like, "Oh, Brandon, you just a corporate dude. I'm a real entrepreneur. I'm like, yeah, but you also look very stressed out.
Right.
You also look like, I mean, your money is funny. You're showing up late to all the meetings. So I mean,
Yeah.
if this is entrepreneurship, I don't know if this is right for me.
I'm
But
happy
I'm
where I'm
cool.
at.
I'm
Yeah.
happy where I'm at.
Cool.
But what's funny is a lot of those same people have come back to me over the years and said, you know what, you were so right. Like there are things that you just have learned that you were trying to show us.
Right.
And it wasn't about, never about trying to be better than somebody or anything like that. It's just like, yo, like this is the way that business is done. I have a good friend of mine. I'm not gonna mention it by name, but
Look,
like,
no name drop.
he would do this. He does these huge events. We just had a huge event a couple of weeks ago, and I'm on the board of the company and I do a lot of stuff. But like he would send this thing out and be like, okay, we're gonna have a 4-hour meeting, and I would say, what's the agenda? He's like, I ain't got no time for no agenda.
We're just going there to talk.
I say, bro, let me tell you something. You think I'm gonna show up for 4 hours and I don't know what we're talking about?
That's a long time.
That's a long time.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. Like, what? So you don't like you haven't even clarity comes to articulation.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get it out your head. Like you know what you are thinking a lot of times, but you can make it clear when you actually write it down and you say it. And so like I would tell him all the time, like, look, bro, like I'm rocking with you, but at the same time, I just can't sit here for 4 hours and not know what we're gonna do.
Right. Because a lot of times you would get there and then you forget what you even came to talk about.
Yeah, or things get off, and so I actually, I've been working with him for like the last 3 years on this stuff we work on, and it was funny. Like this year, he really kind of took it to heart because he's the CEO of this company,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a board member now. But like I actually called him after one of our meetings and said, "Yo," and this is like real talk, black man to black man. I was like, "Yo, man, I just want to let you know I'm proud of you because I have seen you implement things to make yourself a better leader." And I can see how those things are now starting to make the team better and the team more efficient, right? So I've watched his evolution of just hustling, trying to figure it out, like becoming somebody who's being more intentional about running a business and, informing and educating their team, right? And so again, I just think that, and again, like people just have really kind of taken this entrepreneurship thing, like, I'm gonna sleep when I die. Like, bro, go get you a job.
I'm asleep now.
Gotta
Go
go to
sleep
bed.
now. Go get you a job. Learn how business is done. Learn how meetings are conducted. Learn how finance works.
Yeah.
Because if you're really going to run a business, those are the things you're going to be responsible for. If you want people to come follow you and work for you, they have to have confidence that you know what the hell you're doing.
Man.
And you're not just making this stuff up as you go along.
Exactly.
I love that you talked about the whole hustle thing because I think that's something, obviously this podcast is called Hustle Haven, right? And we talk a lot about redefining what hustle culture looks like because I think people think like, oh, I'm about to be an entrepreneur. I need to hustle. And like you said, hustle looks like work, work, work.
Yeah.
I sleep when I die. I think in redefining what hustle culture means, I think it's giving some type of like organization to it. Realizing that hustle is not you just jumping out into entrepreneurship and just going hard from morning to night. It's doing it with intention, having a schedule, having an agenda, understanding KPIs, things like that, really understanding those. And so the corporate space, teaching you all of that, I feel like it makes sense. And y'all don't fight me because y'all know I be saying stuff.
Oh,
But it
God.
reminds me of kind of like that PWI versus HBCU thing, right? I get a lot of people who, when I talk to them about my college experience, it looked different on both angles, right? I went to PWI because I ain't have no Howard money. That's what my mama said. But it was just like from a social perspective, obviously, their experience looked different, but also from a like what we picked up in the classroom and things like that also looked different because we were like put into different spaces that I feel like some HBCUs may not offer. And to me, that's what it kind of reminds me of from corporate America to entrepreneurship. I think I worked at Regions Bank, a Birmingham-based bank with people that don't look like me. I'll put it like that. And so with that, it's just like it was different for me. But a lot of the things that I learned there, like you said, running a meeting, understanding how to work a team, how to have different initiatives going on to bring everybody together, things like that. I feel like I could have only learned that in a corporate space. And I feel like that's what's making me be able to be successful as an entrepreneur. So to your point, I feel like stay in your role and really take everything from it. Reap the benefits of being in your position because the position now is going to put you in position later.
Exactly,
like 100%.
exactly. And that's why I love both. I always say, like, I feel like I'm supposed to be doing both. Like, I'm not supposed to just do one thing because I take so much from my 9 to 5 that I could put into my business. It's like, why do I have to choose either one?
Yeah.
You know, like, why can't I be successful? Why can't I thrive? Why can't I make my dreams happen in both categories?
Oh, you absolutely can. Again, I think there's so much out here, like, you just really want people to have confidence in you.
Right.
And so to get like experience is the best teacher, but it's the teacher nobody wants to deal with. So in so many situations that I deal with now on a day-to-day basis, the reason why I have the answer is because I've dealt with this in the past. Like I've run head first into lots of experiences. A lot of them weren't necessarily the best experiences, but I just have this mentality all the time to when stuff gets crazy, my mentality is just, all right, you know what? Just lean in and go through it. And because again, if it won't kill you, it might be stressful for a while, but you will gain so much experience for that. For now, the next time something like that similar happens, you can speak to it. You can speak to it with confidence, and that's where again people are like, man, how come you're not stressed out? It's like because I've been through this before.
Yeah.
I've been through this a dozen times, but again, that's the experience you get with working again in corporate and just doing different things, getting exposure, learn how to deal with people, learn how to talk to people, learn how to deal with different
Types of people.
conflicts, different types of people,
Yeah.
different attitudes. Even learning how to, address conflict, right? I think for us, a lot of times, especially as Black folks, right? Like it's very easy to like want to take something to the streets because somebody said something to you weird in a meeting.
Shout out to Chicago. 'Cause
But you have to learn, like even in just again learning how to do business, you have to learn how to talk to people, even when you don't disagree, and even when you don't agree with them. You know what I'm saying? So like again, these are just experiences that you can get. Literally, it's almost like it's like a college education. And to your point, like I actually went to a HBCU, and then
Love my HBCU.
then I transferred to a PWI. So I've seen it on
you've
both
seen
sides.
both angles. Yeah.
I've seen it on both sides right now. And so when I see people that are operating a certain kind of way, I'm like, man, they could really use
Yeah.
some experience because
In
they're
that
out here just trying to
space.
figure it out.
Yeah.
And again, it's almost like you're getting it's like you're getting a college education to learn how to do business. And so I think people should definitely embrace it if you have the opportunity. Plus, it's nothing like having a consistent paycheck while
Okay.
you're
And some
building and
Not
benefits.
only
figuring
a
something out.
consistent paycheck,
Some
health
benefits.
Health insurance, benefits. Yeah.
benefits, 401k, the list goes
And
on. That security feels good.
when I see my clients now buying houses and they tapping into their 401k, I just be like, now where's my 401k? Why nobody set me
Why
up
nobody
like
said
that?
nothing to me about
I
that?
feel like corporate life is like your internship to your entrepreneur. Like
Yeah.
take it very seriously.
Take it
it's
very
the footprint
seriously.
for sure.
Take them
Absolutely.
both. So as we wrap up, for all of us, we're gonna give one piece of advice to just one, or if you got two, give us two. Give it all. Whatever you gotta say it to entrepreneurs who are still in that 9 to 5 space and who may be kind of toggling like, is this what I should be doing? Like, is this holding me back from like fulfilling my entrepreneurial things? Like, let's give them that motivation and encouragement that like, stop listening to social media and like know that you can do it both. You can do both.
Was that your one piece? Was that it right there?
That was probably going to be it for me.
No, I'll kick it off. I'll say this. I would say my biggest piece of advice is assess yourself and your situation as opposed to others. I think it kind of leans into what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing sometimes, to your point, we feel like we cannot do both. And I think you have to assess yourself because I do know some people who just really can't, right? Entrepreneurship is their thing or the corporate space is their thing. And if they try to do both, they're going to drastically lack in the other category. I think you have to assess yourself. assess who you are and what you're capable of doing. I tell people this all the time. My second year of real estate was the craziest year. I sold 10 million. When the first year I barely sold 2 houses. I also had a full-time job working for a law firm more than half of that year. So for me, it's like, if you know that you can do it, figure it out, manage your time and do it, but don't be so quick to judge what somebody else's situation looks like, because that's not independent to you. Figure out you, assess you, and get your money. Okay?
Period. However you get it.
Yeah.
Both ways.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I would just say the biggest advice is just be honest with yourself. You know, you can lie to everybody else, you can't lie to yourself. You know what I'm saying? And so I think if you have a desire to be an entrepreneur, be honest with yourself about your skills, your capabilities, but also be honest with yourself about, do you really have an actual business? There are a lot of people out here stressed out because they got terrible business ideas and they're trying to make them work.
Trying to push it out.
And there's so many things you can do before you even, like, I had this conversation with a friend of mine, like she was trying to launch a hair care line. And she was like, okay, well, my plan is I'm going to go to festivals. And I said, okay, before you go to festivals, how about this? How about we create a survey? We send it out. You have a lot of friends. We survey all your friends. We get some data. We make some, we make some assumptions, and then, you can actually email them. But for you to sit here and say, I want to go directly to go sitting out in the sun all day trying to sell this to figure out if it works or not, I don't know if that's a good idea. So,
Market research. We
Yeah.
talked about that.
so, I think a big part is just be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself about your business, about your capabilities, about what you're willing to give up, what you're willing to kind of, lean into. Because again, man, once you get out here, you got to figure this thing out. And, if you're lying to yourself, you're telling yourself, everybody's telling themselves a story. But if you're not telling yourself the real story, you're going to make really bad decisions. You're going to be unnecessarily stressed out. So yeah, my biggest advice is just be honest with yourself, and really, think twice about what you're doing. There's nothing wrong, again, with having a 9 to 5 if that's what you're there for, because everybody is not built for this. I know
Right.
people say you are. Everybody says you should own a business. There's lots of other ways to make money if you're
Yeah.
not built for this. But if you are built for this and you're ready to do it, jump in, lean in, but just, do it right, do it with intentionality. And again, have a damn business model.
Okay.
Because you gotta make money. You gotta
Okay.
make money, man.
Especially when everybody's trying to be entrepreneurs. I would say for me, always be optimistic for me. Like, be honest with yourself and know what your capabilities are. But I feel like sometimes you can just think negatively automatically, where you probably could have done both, but because you gave up on yourself too quick, or you gave up into your idea too quick, like, be optimistic and know that something positive can come out of it. Like, you know, figuring out if you're doing 9 to 5 in entrepreneurship, if it works for you, or if you just need to do both, being honest with yourself, like you guys said, like, figure it out, but like, try to always keep a positive eye and try not to like let it drain you, let it deter you, or let it do anything to like minimize what your
Yeah.
dreams are. Because I feel like you can, as an entrepreneur, you feel that a lot. Okay. Like we said, like every day, do we want to do this? But like, yes, we can do this.
Yeah.
Let's just get the plan together. Like, put your plan together and make it work.
Execution
Okay.
is key.
So
I
yes,
love
y'all,
that.
that was today's episode on building your side hustle while working your 9 to 5. I hope this episode reassures you that like whatever you put your mind to, as long as you're being honest with yourself, you're being intentional, you can definitely make your dreams come true either way it goes. Before we go, I do want you to plug I know you got all these businesses.
Yes, plug them all.
What does Butter ATL have going on? Like, let us know. What's going on in branding's world that we need to keep in mind?
First of all, shout out Majority.
Shout out Majority.
One of the fastest growing creative agencies in the country right now. Shout out to the whole team over there. Butter ATL, obviously, easy to find. Butter.atl on social, butteratl.com. We got a lot of great stuff coming up through the rest of this year. We launched a nonprofit fund through the Atlanta Community Fund. So we've been funding like local small businesses, local grants. 404 Day is our big kind of initiative every year.
I
So
saw that.
Yeah.
Brandon, I should have came outside.
we got some really special stuff. Already working on 404 Day 2025. You know what
Okay.
I'm
Love
saying?
it.
And 2026 too. And then
Planning, people, planning.
This
Yeah,
is
I'm-
why Brandon is successful, and
years
some of
out.
y'all can't figure it out.
2 years out. And then I'm also working on a special. It's a little bit stealth, but I'm just gonna say it's a spirits company
Okay.
that I'm working on with some friends right now. So we gonna
Nice.
have
Okay.
You know,
nice
the girls love the spirit.
The girls
we got a
love
little spirit brand coming out soon. You know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
there's a couple different things, but yeah, thanks everybody that supports us. Again, shout out to the 404 Collective, all my guys that we support, all we work with, everybody that supports us. I always say I'm just happy to be here. So I
And we
appreciate y'all.
thank you for
We
being
thank you.
here.
No,
You
I
know
do want to
that you
give you
could
your
have said
flowers.
no. And
Truly.
we appreciate you for saying yes.
On top of you saying yes, you also came here and like really poured into us. And I
Yes.
feel like poured into our audience. I feel like our audience is based around people who want to be in business. And when they can see somebody like you, someone that looks like them, someone who's successful like you, and give those types of gems, I feel like that's why we started this podcast.
Exactly.
So
This is
I'm
the
grateful. And
objective.
if I had some flowers, I would literally put them on your lap right now. Like I really appreciate that. And I'm excited. Like I was over here like, I'm never going fishing with a shotgun. So I appreciate it.
Oh my god. And we'll have all of his information in the description, in the show notes. You guys can go and follow and see everything that he has going on. But again, we thank you. We appreciate you. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, comment, all the good things. And we'll see y'all on the next episode.
Bye, guys.
Bye.